Hey friends, how are you? Nice to be here. It's been a little while since we've done a live feed. I mean, it's been quite a while actually. Let me make sure I'm on here. Let me put this down. So, hi. Hold on a second. Let me just bring up the what a legend. Swiss Stitch Chefs. It's what a legend that made so many people very happy. Very true, huh? I mean, when you look at the amount of the body of work, it's insane. Just hold on. Let me make sure I've got for whatever reason, I'm having problems with my feed. There we go. We're going to go through some of this stuff. And if you've noticed that maybe some of our acoustics have gone to pot in the last little while. Hi, Melody R. Nice to have you on here. We are in the process of moving out west, back to Calgary for family reasons. And so all our soundproofing is no longer in the room. Hi, Irene. Nice to have you here. Hi, Mark. Very sad news. Just to give you an idea, like Magic Moments in 1958 with Perry Como, co-written by Hal David, a number 4 hit. We're going to go through some of this, just the top 10s. Tower of Strength, Gene McDaniels, a co-write for Burt Bacharach, a number 5 hit. Baby It's You, the Shirelles, number 8 hit, written by a co-write for him. And another one with Hal David, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, Gene Pitney, of course. These are just the top 10s. Only Love Can Break Your Heart, co-write with Gene Pitney. Hal David with Gene Pitney. This is just some of the big ones. Let me just give you another picture here. Blue on Blue, Bobby Vinton, a co-write with Hal David. Of course, Hal David and Burt Bacharach were a major team. Another one with Hal. And Anyone Who Had a Heart, Dionne Warwick, and there were many with Dionne. Another one, Walk On By, number 6 hit. I mean, look at it. This is amazing when you look at it. What the world needs now is love. Jackie DeShannon with Hal David and Burt Bacharach. Tom Jones, What's New Pussycat? I mean, it puts it in perspective when you put I Say a Little Prayer with Dionne Warwick, Hal David again. I won't mention Hal David again because the next little while it's all Hal David. A number 1 hit, This Guy's in Love with You, Herb Alpert, who of course owned A&M Records. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, number 1 hit, which was basically the biggest hit of that year in the mid to early 70s. Christopher Cross, Arthur's Theme. I think I've got a picture. Hold on. There they are together with Bert's former partner. I don't think he was he with Carol Bayer Sager when this all happened? I don't know if she's even still alive. So I'm going to read some of your comments. We are on a makeshift studio right now. It's still in the same room. Unfortunately, all our soundproofing is gone. We've still got original camera, but everything's out of whack. I don't even have my desk anymore. We sold our desk because we need the room to move out west. Brian says, great writer-composer, Irene Brophy. So many I didn't realize. Brian Kelly. He wrote all those songs is what he is saying. Yes. Songwriters Hall of Fame. Very true. Brian Kelly, amazing. Artist on record starring Attica Live. He wrote the music of our generation and the songs that were memories of our lives. JD. Sad he died. He lived a long life, though. When you're living into the 90s, I had this discussion with a friend of mine who's actually moving to Vancouver from Nova Scotia, a Facebook friend of mine, and he's making the big trek too. We were talking about, being able to do our work while we're covering music news, and he's a writer and I'm a vlogger for the most part. Anyway, we're talking about the fact that when you're in your 90s, there are some people who will say, take me out of my misery. I'm in my 90s and I'm not 100% there anymore. And then the other people will say they're hanging on to every last day. It just depends upon the person. I think if I'm being what do you think? If you'd be in your 90s, if you were of sound mind for the most part? Because a lot of people say, hey, you had a long life. Well, that's true. I remember an astrologer and a psychic and a numerologist, I think within a month, all told me I was going to live till I was 89 or 87. It's in my journal. And I remember thinking, well, that's pretty good, but I'm going to be pissed when I'm 86 or 87 or whatever that date is. Westbound Music, hey man. It was a major influence on young musicians, on my young musician self, for sure. Massive artist, composer. Mark says, I don't want to live till my 90s. See, there you go. Shannon always says she doesn't want to live past her 80s. My wife. Brian Kelly, love all those songs which made many good days for me. Hey, well said. God bless him. Chauncey Gardner, my mom would have CHFI in Toronto in the mornings. Burt was one of my faves. I still listen to him, but I can still go to Humble Pie to him. But thanks. JD, artist on record starring Attica Live. Saw you on Burt reporting earlier. Saw you on Burt reporting earlier. Artist on record, Attica Live. He was also married to Angie Dickinson. He was. I think Angie was a big crush for a lot of people. Policewoman, remember? And a lot of other things. She was in so many films. Rick Tyndall. I'm blessed to have had the opportunity to share space with the maestro and be able to say I wrote songs with him. Oh, wow. And got to call him my friend, Bernie Taupin. Wow. Mark P. Every day is a gift from God. Every day is a gift. That's true. I'm usually at this angle. I'm usually looking over here in my principal picture computer is over there. Let me just go through some of these with you again. These are just the top 10s. I will not mention the co-writes, which a lot of the times were Hal David. Magic Moments with Perry Como. These are just the top 10s. Tower of Strength, G. McDaniels. The Shirelles, Baby It's You. Hal David. Oh, I did it again. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, Gene Pitney. Remember, only the top 10s. Only Love Can Break Your Heart, Gene Pitney. Bobby Vinton, Blue on Blue. Crazy. Dionne Warwick, Anyone Who Had a Heart. There was so many with Dionne. Another one, Walk On By. What the World Needs Now Is Love, Jackie DeShannon. Tom Jones, What's New Pussycat. These are, again, I stress only the top 10s. I Say a Little Prayer, Dionne Warwick. Do You Know the Way to San Jose? Dionne Warwick, I love that song. This Guy's in Love with You, a #1 hit from Herb Alpert. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, B.J. Thomas, which was the #1 song of that year. Christopher Cross, Arthur's Theme. And where's the picture? I'll show it again. Oh, hold on. I've got it here someplace. Let me... There's... Let me get the pictures thing so I can take this off here. Hold on. Give me a second. I don't have a switcher yet. I want to buy a switcher, but switchers are expensive. Where you can decide what pictures are being shown. Let me just take this off. Boop. Boop. Hold on. Give me a second. There you go. There's Arthur's theme with Christopher Cross. Here, I'm back. So it was a shocker today, but then again, it wasn't. I remember when he was in the first Austin Powers on the double-decker bus on top. I remember seeing him on there, thinking, man, he looked, he looked really old to me, but I hadn't seen him in a while, and he lived years after that, right? The first Austin Powers seems like years ago. Chris Sharkey, not to mention all his brilliant arrangements and scores. Thank you very much. Artists on record, amazing songs. Yeah, it was a sad moment. A lot of folks have been asking why we're not on. It's because we're moving out west, and it's an incredibly stressful time for us on a level that's just insane. So I haven't put out a lot of stuff. I've got tons of interviews. I've gone through, just as an aside, all our old reel-to-reels, just to show you. Things like this. Old interviews. A lot of those are Rolling Stone interviews, they're not ours. But a lot of old interviews, and we came up with over 260 interviews that from the last 40 years in broadcasting, from myself, from my friend Steve Burgess, and from my former boss, Len Tucson. So there's a lot of stuff you're going to hear on this channel and the other channel. Douglas Struthers, quite a prolific writer. Rest in peace. Isaac Hayes did an extraordinary version of Walk On By. Isaac Hayes did everything long. Never noticed? When Isaac Hayes did a song, it was like a long version of whatever song. And Isaac had his own feel to everything. JD. When people don't appear for a long time, they are the ones who will show up dead. Well, maybe. I don't know. Randy Schiffer. Glad to see you giving him his due respect. An amazing writer, whether you were of that ilk or not, right? Whether that was the type of artist that you listened to or not. Even at the very least, through osmosis, you would have had a history with Burt Bacharach, Hal David songs. And he co-wrote with a lot of other people, mostly Hal David, that most of us know about. And again, I just went through the top 10s. Just hold on. Let me just give you some of the ones that are highlighted because they're really big songs. Just to humor me for a second. Man, the list is long. It's insane. I can't just cherry pick, but I will go through some of the other ones. Baby It's You, the Shirelles, Any Day Now, Chuck Jackson. These are some of the other ones. Make It Easy on Yourself with Jerry Butler. These are songs that are highlighted. Don't Make Me Over, Dionne Warwick. This is number 21 hit. Blue on Blue, we mentioned that with Bobby Vinton. They Long to Be Close to You. Richard Chamberlain. Of course, the Carpenters. Carpenters recorded some stuff there. Doris Day, Send Me No Flowers. Man, huh? And we're only in the 60s at that point. There's always something that'll remind me. Yeah, Dionne Warwick. A lot of people recorded that song, though. I love I Say a Little Prayer. Just love that kind of stuff. Again, no matter, even if you're not of that genre of music, there's no way that the music on some level hasn't touched you. Because most of our audience is into rock or pop right? And he had if you love Aretha, especially, I'm a big Dionne Warwick fan. And Dionne recorded a lot of his stuff. A lot of his things. Irene Brophy, the same Any Day Now that Ronnie Millsap recorded. Arthur's Theme, yes. The Spirit. Emil Music. Window of the World is my favorite. Deed Vidal. Let's not forget his instrumental work like The Bond Street and Wives and Lovers. Artists on Record. Funny, he was tone deaf, but he could write amazing melodies. Oh yeah, Dee or Deed said that. Of course, it was the Elvis Costello stuff. There were so many great pieces of music. Elver Away says, I saw him in concert in Las Vegas years ago. Rick says, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. That was a memorable song for me because I think it was 13 or 14 when that became the number one song of the year. It was such a big tune. Mike Smith, greetings from Fairbanks, Alaska. Land of the Midnight Sun, indeed. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate that. So for the folks who have been asking, and a lot of you have been emailing me why I haven't been on, it's because, again, if you've just joined us because of our move, we've got this monumental, larger-than-life move. Because of family, we have to move back to the west, right across the country, which is hard for us because when I don't publish videos, I don't make money. But we've been busy packing and just having to get things done for the movers who are coming in a couple of weeks. So that's what we've been up to, just in case. Artist on Record. The Beatles, Elvis covered his music. That's how legendary he was, yeah. JD, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head was a hit song for me in 1969. I was always such a huge fan of that song. But, one less bell to answer. Look at that. You know, the Fifth Dimension and a few other people recorded it. Hold on, let me just get back. I'm just looking at my notes. Unfortunately, it's usually right here in my notes, but we're moving and I don't even have a desk anymore. And then there's Heartlight, Neil Diamond with Carol Bayer Sager. These are some of the newer ones. On My Own, Patti LaBelle, Michael McDonald. Co-written by Carol Bayer Sager, which was his partner. And of course, then a few Elvis Costellos. Love, Power, Dionne Warwick. On My Own, like I said, Patti LaBelle, Michael McDonald. Isn't that an amazing... oh yeah, Close to You, Patty M, thank you. Brian Kelly. JD, good idea. They should have a clone all those good singers so we can never lose them. Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's always a reminder, right? Whenever we lose someone that is larger than life, or someone who has given us an awful lot, or someone who's given us something on the level where we feel like we know them a little bit. And you get to know them. When an artist, and I've interviewed many of them in the last 40 years, will say things like, well, they always say that, oh, my new album's my favorite album. But in some ways, I know they mean it, whether it is their best albums to the fans or not. But it's their children. It's their diary of the year, right? A song is, or an album is, a diary of the last year for that artist on some level, musically at the very least, right? So it's something, it's their baby, and it becomes sort of our diary, or our version of who they are. So, I mean, when you die in your 90s, hopefully he had a really good life. He had obviously a very lucrative life, but unless you knew him, he did really good work. Overstating the obvious. I know it's a mother statement to say that, but it's true. DGF627 says, I just learned that the theme from ABC Sunday Night Movie was Burt's Nicky. Oh, I believe that's him and Angie Dickinson's daughter's name. A house is not a home. Thanks, Patty. Brian Kelly, I would play that on my workers in the autos, Raindrops. Yeah. Yeah. It's just part of I just turned 63. This is all part of where I came from. But Douglas Struthers, he wrote a huge hit. That's What Friends Are For. Gladys Knight, Dionne Warwick, Stevie Wonder, and Elton John. Yeah, that was a huge song. And Elton John's voice was starting to change around that time. That's when you started realizing that he was getting older, and he had the problems with his throat. Carrie Crouch, hey John, one of the top pop songwriters of our lifetime, if not the all-time greatest. Thanks, Carrie, appreciate that. That's a nice picture of you. Roger Maloney, always something that'll remind me. Jose Feliciano, Naked Eyes, of course. Yeah, I just found an interview with my friend Steve with hold on, where is it? Backed up. I can't find... the other guy from Naked Eyes. He joined another band after. I just found an interview. And by the way, just as an aside, because I've been gone, I've been digitizing all our interviews from reel to reel to digital, like I said. And I found that like 15% of the people I or Steve or my former boss Len Tucson have interviewed, they're dead. Like 15%. Examples, Long John Baldry. I had 2 interviews with Michael Hedges. I could only find one. Michael Hedges is dead. There was a few of them that Steve interviewed that are no longer with us. Let me see if I can go on to the list. Just speaking of death, I'm just looking here. There's an interview with David Bowie that's an international interview. He's, of course, not long dead. Doug Bennett, Doug and the Slugs, he's dead. There's 1, 2, 3 interviews with him. What else have we got? I finally found my interview with George Benson. It's there. An interview with Jim Croce, which was an international radio show. That's not mine. But let's see. Leon Redbone. He has passed away. As I said, Long John Baldry, he's passed away. Michael Hedges, as I mentioned. He's gone just interviews with people that I found from our old days of doing interviews. Stacy Q, she's still around. There was another lady. Yeah. There's a few of them that we did from folks that are just not around anymore. We found an interview with Roland Orzabal from Tears for Fears, just to let you know. Rick said, anyone who's married to Angie Dickinson has my never-ending respect. Man, Angie was, she had that beautiful yet farm girl look to me. I remember she, not just because she was in Policewoman, but there was a side of her I'm going, you don't want to cross this woman. And I love that. You want someone with chutzpah who can tell you you're full of crap when you're full of crap, right? All my friends in radio in the early 80s, we'd always tell ourselves that we wanted to end up with someone who, and I was married to a redhead at the time, so I had no problem with that. Not to stereotype, but my ex-wife, she didn't take any bull. She was the typical redhead in the way that if you were full of crap, she'd tell you. And that's what I think a lot of times you need in your life, someone who will tell you you're full of crap. To me, Angie Dickinson was that kind of woman. She would tell you if you're full of crap. Aaron says, met at a book signing. He was great. Anything you thought he would be. Smart, interesting, and very nice. And took the time for a few questions. He will be missed. Aaron, thank you for sharing that. I think that's what everyone wants to hear. You know, the fact that, when I interview someone, I always walk away from an interview going with a kinder thought if the person says, hey, where are you? Before we get going. John Halliwell of Supertramp was like that the first time I interviewed him. John Anderson of Yes was like that. There was a few people who were like that. And obviously, Burt Bacharach was like that. People who said, oh, no, before we start, like, what's your story? They want to have a conversation. They treasure that. Shem Bon Shrek, formerly of Toto, Don Felder, I've become friends with him. He's one of those guys who goes, hey, I say, well, what's going on, man? How you been? Mind you, I text him on a regular basis, but it's kind of nice when you interview someone, and Burt Bacharach, obviously on Aaron was saying, you met him at a book signing. When someone gives you, and I look at it this way when I interview someone, when someone gives you an hour of their life, and I look at it that way. I'm going, I remember when Bruce Hornsby, that's the first time I got it. Bruce Hornsby gave me, I think, about 45 minutes to an hour in person for the first time I interviewed him. I only talked to him twice, one on the phone, one in person. And as I mentioned, the first time was in person. I remember thinking, Bruce Hornsby just gave me an hour of his life. I don't know why, because I remember where it was when I heard The Way It Is. So when you meet someone like Burt Bacharach and you're going, this man did all this stuff and stops a moment in his life. No, not anyone's more important than anybody else, but it's kind of cool when you meet someone who kind of touched you on that level. You have great respect for, and they stop and they're respectful to you, right? That's kind of nice. Deed Vidal, I don't know if it's Dee. I have friends who have worked with Bacharach for Austin Powers Music. He said he was a great person to work with. Oh, wow. Artist on record says TMZ has Britney Spears on the radar. Yeah, everyone's worried about Britney. They want to have an intervention with her, just as an aside. And I mean, I'm not going to nullify Britney Spears just because she's of that level of musicianship, but I hope she's okay, right? DGF 627, amazing. JD, artist on record starring Attica Live. I see she's been through a lot. Yeah, her face is changing. Yeah, she's Britney's been. I'm not gonna go on here like that crazy guy who went, oh, Britney alone. That had nothing to do with Britney Spears. That had all to do with this guy. Remember that guy? He became famous. But there's nothing you can stop Britney. I think, and I don't know. I don't pretend to be like quacky like Dr. Phil, but at least Dr. Phil was a doctor at one point. That I don't want to diagnose anybody, but it seems like Britney's dealing with some pretty serious issues. Brian Kelly, yes, losing some good, talented, honest people who have loved their work makes me sad. Brian, well said. And there'll be more. This is going to be one hell of a year. Hold on to your seats, man. This is going to be that kind of year. You can tell. Just by the very fact that we're having people in their 80s and 90s. And, remember we used to say about AIDS? AIDS doesn't kill you. An opportunistic infection will kill you. You'll die of pneumonia or something else will kill you, whatever your weak spot is. But when you're at a certain age, you're at that point where, any of your weak things could kill you, or the garden variety things that kill everybody at a certain age, right? So, yeah. Rick says, I ran into Don Henley at an art show in Dallas and I got to talk to him for 5 minutes. I said my piece to him and made a quick exit. A memory I'll never forget. Wow. I just commented on Don's wife put a silly, what's that artist that, with the bushy hair, they're always making fun of him. I guess there's a movie, a quasi movie about him. And Don's wife had put something up. She supports our channel. She watches our channel, which is really nice. I would really love for her to tell Don to do an interview with us, but JD says, I'm worried about Barry Gibb. He's the last one. I found an interview, by the way, with my former boss did an interview with, hold on, let me find it for you. With Robin Gibb from 1974. It seems it was 74. So he gave me that interview. So I have that. I found a great Barry Manilow special. Barry's still with us. I saw Barry Manilow in concert. He was very good. Just found an interview before I came on with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which was the old Blood, Sweat, and Tears with David Clayton Thomas from my old boss, Len, who gave me that interview. Some Blue Rodeo. Oh, God, so much stuff. Bruce Coburn, Bruce Hornsby, Bruce Springsteen, Bachman Turner Overdrive, sorry. Okay, I'm going to wind things up here. Brian Kelly, oh, wow. On Yoko, that's what friends are for. Even topped the soul charts. Yep. Deborah, nice to have you on here. I'm more worried about Neil Diamond. Neil's got, isn't he dealing with some form of dementia? Even though since he stopped touring and he made that announcement, or his team made that announcement, he's been quite public. I've seen him a lot, doing the Sweet Caroline thing where people love that. Deeds says, interesting, I saw the Bee Gees documentary. I saw it too on YouTube a few nights ago. I understand that he has a back injury. Oh, makes it difficult to play guitar. Brian Kelly, Neil Diamond's interesting. Rick says, when I get to heaven, I want to ask God why he would allow Barry Gibb to lose his hair. What hair he had, huh? I mean, seriously, he became the main focus of the Bee Gees during the mid to late 70s and after that. DGF says, an episode of Hollywood Palace hosted by Burt and Angie is on YouTube. Oh, the guest list is amazing. 4852 says, Burt skyrocketed the following careers: Dion, Fifth Dimension, Carpenters. You also wrote Arthur's Theme. Yes, you're covering a lot of ground that from now people we've already covered, but thank you. Thank you everyone for coming on. I appreciate it. It's kind of a kick to the gut a little bit today. But I was able to sort of step back a little bit and said, well, he did live till his 90s. When you're in your 90s, some people are happy to go to the next level. Others are going, I'm still alive. I want to stay alive. I like being alive. Life is good, Dave Stubbs says, a friend of mine who is a cinematographer texted me today. He filmed a music video with Burt and the Isley Brothers were on vocals. Said Burt worked very fast, was very intense, and demanded perfection. DGF, Barry Gibb was everything with that hair and a gold pendant, yeah. A life well lived, Rick, well said. Right? You do what you want to do. I have a friend who's going through an awful lot right now. I think we all have a friend who's going through an awful lot right now. And just trying to find a career path around my age. Hasn't really found it. There's no good or bad time to find what you're here to, or what you're here at the moment to do. And you ask the question, like, what do you want to do? Well, what do you mean? Well, what do you want to do? You know, you don't have a worry for money, I was telling my friend. So what do you want to do? And that's the thing. If you, people like Burt Bacharach, you know, way back when they were like struggling, doing their thing, just kept at it, right? And got better at it. We were talking about shame the other day with a friend, embarrassment and shame, and I was saying nothing gets you to be better than being embarrassed. If someone embarrasses you, if someone says, like, I'm sure someone told Burt Bacharach in the old days, I don't have to even know that in the bio, that told him maybe you're not, you know. We're all been in that situation where we've gotten better because someone told us something we did was not great. And then you want to be great. To get to the level of Burt Bacharach and Hal David, that's just nuts. That's on a level that, what, that many hits? I'm not going to go through them again. I went through them for anyone who's joining us. Went through a lot of the hits. And then the lesser hits, which some of them are even bigger now. Because just if something's a top 10 hit in the 60s, it doesn't mean it's not someone's best song now. That's one of the few good things about Spotify and Apple Music and all that. I don't know if Apple Music does it, but probably do. They'll show you how much streams a song has gotten. And sometimes the number 1 or the number 5 song was not a top 10 hit way back when because of maybe movies or standing the test of time, whatever it is. And or some of those songs that didn't reach the top 10 are like huge now because they sound better. You know, Love Will Keep Us Together is a fine example of that. Number 1 song is 75. For years, no one played that song. And then it came full circle. People wanted to hear it again. But it was so overplayed. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head was another one. Joy of the World, Three Dog Night was another one. When they became so big and so overplayed, it takes a little while for them to get played again. George Music from All Four Seasons, Bacharach had over 70 songs in the top 40. Thank you. George Music says us. Oh, you just started reading his bio book. Oh, cool. Artist on Record says, we are always reinventing ourselves. Just got to keep pushing. Be happy. Listen to good music. Thank you for your channel, John. Thanks. I needed that tonight. I needed to come on tonight. I hadn't been on for a while. The longer I stay off doing live feeds, the harder it is for me to come back. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's human nature. But to be on the level of just, here I am again. You know, because I'm more or less an introvert for the most part. And then when I get going, I'm like the train who thinks he can. I think I can. And I start doing it again. For 4852 says he married Carol Bayer Sager. I almost interviewed her at one point. He had a very unique singing style, that's for sure. Not exactly upfront kind of singer, right? Mr. Bacharach this is Tina, was also a hugely successful breeder, owner of racehorses. Heartlight, number 1, and Afternoon Delights, 2 of the best runners. Oh, cool. Bob's Place says, the guy in charge of the Grand Ole Opry told Elvis to go back to driving a truck. 6 months later, he was the biggest star in the world. Thank you, Bob, for sharing that. Brian Kelly, I thought another Burt, who had interesting character, Burt Reynolds. What is that? Oh, they're playing TV really loud upstairs. Oh, Blaze Eisner, Brother John. The Duke was Dusty Springfield's The Look of Love. Good to see you, brother. God bless. 4852 says quite a few people breed horses. On another night, I would be on here for a couple of hours with you, but this is the first time. Thank you for the stream, John. Take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your evening. But this is my first stream in a little while. So unfortunately, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for indulging me. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on Burt Bacharach. Again, no matter who you are, no matter what type of music you like, on some level, you were touched by Burt Bacharach. And so were all the great artists that he worked with. So may he rest in peace. Thanks for everyone who came on. Dwayne says, greetings from Edmonton. By the way, I'm not sure if I told you, Dwayne, but we were going to move to Edmonton. We decided to move back to Calgary because long story. Anyway, take care, guys. Thanks for coming on. Let me see if I can do this. Take care of yourself.